Energy! Where do you get your energy from? You get it from food, right? Well, how about in the morning when you turn on the light switch? Where does that energy come from? Probably it comes from the energy power plant, right? And they're making energy and it goes to a wire to your house and then to your switch and then you turn it on and you turn it off and you love it. All right, I want you to remember the last time that the power went off in your house. And maybe you can share that with me a little bit about your experience about when you first noticed the power was off and what changed in your home without electricity. What did you have to consider? Okay, so you have to consider a lot of things. Mostly it's that the light won't go on in your room, but also sometimes if you have a pump in your house and you don't have electricity, then you also don't have water. And sometimes you don't have a backup generator that turns on. Most of us don't. And so you have to be very careful and not open the refrigerator so that nothing in the refrigerator warms up and goes bad and spoils. Or maybe the heat doesn't work in your house. But we don't really think about this too much until we go to plug in, hello. Oh, I'm not really on my phone, but if I was going to be on my phone, I need to make sure it's charged up, right? So how do I charge my phone? I plug it in and I put it into a socket in the wall, right? I need electricity. So we don't really think about where that comes from, but it comes from in Michigan. It comes from a combination of sources, but one of the biggest sources that our electricity comes from in Michigan is the burning of coal and natural gas. And another really big source of energy or electricity for us in Michigan is wind power and solar power. Those things we have access to, and our energy companies are slowly but surely doing this more because they know that eventually our coal and oil and our fossil fuels are going to run out. So our learning target today is I understand that the sources of energy are not distributed equally on Earth because of how they're formed. So what we're going to look at is sources of energy and where they are located on Earth and like how we get energy from it. And the first thing we're going to do today is look at renewable resources. Renewable resource. Say it with me. Renewable resource. It's a resource that can be replaced in a short amount of time. So tidal power, we can't have this in Michigan. We don't have big enough tides, and so certainly not as big enough to turn the turbines. If you've never heard of tidal power before, you know what a tide is, right? Tide comes in, tide goes out. You have high tide, low tide. Maybe you've heard of that. Make sure you watch the video so that you do understand how we can harness the power of the tides, which is awesome. It's kind of like using gravity and the moon to get energy from. It's pretty awesome. Solar power you're probably familiar with. Hydroelectric power. This kind of power comes from falling water and it turns a turbine and that produces electricity. Then geothermal power, you've probably heard about it, but maybe you're not really familiar with it. And there's a bunch of different kinds. Sometimes it's in the right part of Earth where they have like the mantle is really thick and the crust is really thin and there's a lot of warmth. But think if there was a tube that went underneath your house that went down into the earth just a few feet below the freeze line, down into the earth, and it went underneath your house and it passed air through there and it got that temperature. Now, underground in caves, the average temperature is between 50 and 55 degrees all year round. So your air that was coming into your house would always be 55 degrees. So if you needed to cool off your house in the summer, you wouldn't even have to use air conditioning. You just blow the fan right through the little tube, cooling it down before it gets in your house. And in the winter, your home would never get below 55 degrees because that air is blowing 55 degrees into your house. And if you wanted to heat it up, then it only has to heat it up, maybe 20 degrees or so for it to be really warm instead of heating it from 0 degrees to 70. It's a lot easier to heat something from 50 to 70. It's very less energy use. So the next piece that we're probably familiar with is wind power, and that comes from those giant windmills. And the last one that you're probably not familiar with is called biomass power. So biomass, say it with me, biomass. Bio, like biology, like living. So mass, like weight. So lots of living mass, right? From like trees, food, algae, or waste. We compact it and burn it, and we use that for fuel. And that's called biomass power. You're going to watch a couple of videos today and learn about renewable resources, and then you're going to complete notebook page 73. I know it's a lot of writing. I'm so sorry, but it is what it is. And I did it too. And so you're going to learn about also non-renewable resources and how they are formed. This learning target is, I understand that use of energy resources by humans decreases the amount of available and changes the overall distribution of Earth's resources. So basically, humans are using up Earth's resources. And in your lifetime, if we don't do something to change this, there will be no oil left while you're still alive, which is pretty amazing and a little bit scary. It'll be okay though. We have lots of green energy ideas and inventions. So our term for page 73 is non-renewable resource. Say it with me. Non-renewable resource. This is a resource that has a limited supply. They cannot be used over and over again. So like once it's used up, it's used up. So fossil fuels were formed millions of years ago when the remains of fossils of prehistoric plants and animals sank to the bottom of swamps and oceans. Over time, they were covered and crushed by layers of rock, mud, sand, and water. The pressure broke down the remains and created coal, oil, and natural gas. Those are our three main non-renewable resources. Nuclear power is also non-renewable because we use a certain form of uranium that is extracted from the earth, and there's only so much available on Earth. So today, I want you to figure out some examples of non-renewable resources as you watch videos and list at least 4 examples here. Don't be depressed. Don't be sad that we're using up our resources. We just have to figure out how to use less of them and how to depend on our renewable resources more. And that's going to happen. Don't worry. We're all going to be okay. All right, today you have 2 notebook pages, and then you're going to go to a website at the very end. You'll see in red in our lesson plan, it says that you need to submit a screenshot. So you have to go to a website. It has like a summation of everything that we've learned, and it has a 10-question quiz. They're pretty easy. I took it and got 100% right away. So you need to take that quiz until you get 100%. If you don't get 100%, just retake it. When you get 100%, take a screenshot and submit it to me for today's assignment. Enjoy learning some new information about our renewable resources. Maybe you'll be the superstar that invents the amazing battery that stores power for a very long, long time, or maybe a new energy source that doesn't create any kind of environmental impact. All right, enjoy some science today.